starts with testing week, which happens in the month of March. Then in the month of July, we do World Conference Next Gen testing in Bangalore. Then in October, we do Agile testing gathering, which happens every October. And then in December, we do a software testing roadshow in six to eight cities in India. So that we call it India Testing Week. So every quarter, we have something or the other on software testing happening. And so on that note, I welcome everyone. Thanks for coming and making it on time. Those who have participated at India Testing League, you can relax a bit now. I know it was a tough half an hour. May the best four, come to the finals of India Testing League. Let me share with you the highlights of this event. So in this event, we are going to identify the testing champion of the year, India's most knowledgeable software tester. And the winner of India Testing League will be the India's most knowledgeable software tester. So we had over 7,000 testers participating in the round one, and we selected top 1% who came there at 8 o'clock and gave a written test and with a lot of aptitude on software testing. And then we'll be selecting the top 4 teams, and they will be playing the finals today. So you can look at your agendas, but the finals is at 4 o'clock. So the winner would be announced today. We are also doing, for the first time, India Testing Awards, for which we got fantastic response. I'm very proud and honored to inform that the Lifetime Achievement Award for software testing this year has been given to ISRO's Mars orbiter mission. So we'll have the director of ISRO coming tomorrow, and he will be sharing the kind of quality process and the zero defect process that they have. I mean, it was simply amazing the way they did. We had nominations from various other bodies also, similar to ISRO from different countries. But the reason ISRO won that award was because they were able to do it in their first attempt. So it was completely a zero defect product. And the kind of quality process that they followed has to be heard to be believed. So you will hear from them tomorrow at 5 o'clock in the evening, when they will come with their entire quality team to brief us about their quality process. So this is it. Then we have a lot of exciting prizes for you. So we have of the year 2015. We have software testing project of the year 2015. We have testing startup of the year 2015. So various other categories. We will be displaying the trophies, very soon, and may the best win. Let me share with you the agenda for today. So if you can just take out the agenda. I'll just share with you so that your life becomes easy once the hall gets divided into two. So we'll just share the agenda. So immediately after my overview, we'll have a keynote by Rex Black. He's president of RBCS and past president of the ISTQB and ASTQB and co-author of ISTQB Foundation. And then we'll have a panel discussion. So we have a fantastic pool of panel members. So immediately after my overview, once Rex starts the session, we request all the panel members to meet outside to just have a quick discussion. So at about 9:30, if all the panel members can meet outside at the reception desk. Testing leadership track. The hall will completely look different once the divider comes in. So this side will be testing leadership track, and the other track would be running in that part of the hall. So we have various talks, and you have the freedom to move from one session to another. All the sessions are going to run concurrently. So we are trying to make sure that it starts at the same time and almost ends at the same time. So you have a choice to move from one session to another, from one track to another. You have to just go out of the hall and come to the other hall. So that's what you have to do. Okay? We'll be announcing the finalists of India Testing League at 4:20 p.m. That's when the finals starts. We'll be having lunch break at 12:50. For those who have come to Lee Meridian for the first time, we have the restroom just when you go out towards the right side. And we have a swimming pool there where you will be served few things, but most of the request his presentation to be put on the screen, please. So the topic is extracting insight and confidence from a voyage into the unknown. Rex is president of RBCS and has been involved with ISTQB and ASTQB for long. and also with Agile Foundation Extension and Advanced, part of the committee that prepares the syllabi. So would like to have Rex here.
Hey. Thank you. Morning, everybody. You guys doing? This is cold tea, by the way, in case you're wondering what is that brown stuff that he's drinking. It might seem odd to you, but it's a southern thing. We drink iced tea in the South in the United States because it can be hot there. So, when you start running a test, do you know what the result will be? For sure. When you sit down to run a test, do you know if it will pass or fail? No, right? You don't, do you? So everything that we do when we're testing involves an element of the unknown, right? If it were possible to say in advance what was going to happen when we ran our tests, would we need to run them? Does it work? What doesn't work? How can we support people finding the problems that are underlying the misbehavior so that those can be removed, right? It is, to be somewhat dramatic about it, a voyage into the unknown, okay? But just wandering around in an unknown situation is not particularly helpful. So we can't just go off and do our voyage into the unknown and then come back, say, hey, finished testing. What does it all mean? Oh, I don't know. You actually wanted me to be able to tell you something? Right? It's not enough to just go there. We got to come back and let's see, do we have a laser beam here? Give people insight and confidence. Right? What did you find? What does it mean? What do we do about it? Okay? So, unfortunately, a lot of times, testers, but the bug associated with the failed test case is closed. What does that mean? It's incoherent, right? We confuse people. We give them simultaneously too much and too little information. We contradict ourselves and contradict each other sometimes. One tester says one thing, one tester says another. So, that severely undermines the value of testing in the eyes of people outside of the test team. Okay? The people that are paying the bills, the people that are wanting testing to be done, they don't just want you to test, they want you to be able to help them understand what does it mean. Again, insight, confidence. Okay? So, let's look at some of the problems that often occur here and some ways to possibly get beyond those problems. People just approach testing like it's this big geeky bug hunt. It's fun to find problems. And it is. At least when you're getting paid to find problems. I have this phone. Okay. But finding bugs is a tactic. Okay? It's something we do in order to support a bigger strategic objective. So just sitting around and finding lots of bugs and thinking, oh, this is really great. This is really great. I found all these bugs. I'm doing so much good. Well, maybe you are, maybe you aren't. You find a lot of bugs, but a lot of those bugs don't matter. How much value has been delivered? Is it possible that you might be distracting the team because you're not necessarily looking in the right places? See, we need to be thinking about how does what we do matter? Strategic thinking. How does what we do support the organization's goals? Right, what are the organization's goals? To build market share through having a fantastic brand with excellent word-of-mouth reputation for quality, right? Is that your organization's goal? Is your organization's goal to save money by reducing costs of defects in production? right? What do people say when you listen to executives in your company, when you read the internal information that's being promulgated about what your organization is about, what the goals of the organization are about? What do they say? Because you're going to approach testing differently, and you're going to position the value of what you do to people outside of testing differently depending on how that matches up with the broader goals of the organization. Because everybody in senior management and executive management is going to expect that within the organization people are working in a way which is aligned with the higher goals. And if you're not, then that's a problem. And if you're not thinking about what those goals are, that's going to be a problem. Because it won't just happen by accident. Just sitting around in a test lab banging away on mobile devices and computers and so forth and finding lots of bugs, that's not going to be aligned with the larger corporate goals. So, what are the objectives? Why do they pay you to test? Something to think about. If it's not clearly defined as to what your team's objectives are, then you need to have that conversation. Who are your stakeholders? Why do they want you to test? Why does this matter? Well, if you don't have clearly defined objectives, is it possible to succeed? If you don't know what you're trying to accomplish, can you succeed? No. So we've got to know what we're trying to accomplish. And we've got to have ways of measuring whether we're accomplishing it. So to get you started thinking about objectives, here are some typical objectives. Okay? Find bugs. Yeah, find bugs, particularly the important ones. This is an objective because it supports the developer's ability to improve quality. But notice that that's primarily a tactical objective. That's how we're going to grind the bugs out of the product, right? But then there's this question of, well, are we done yet? What level of confidence should we have in the product? This is a more strategic objective. It lines up with things like company objective is to build market share by having a fantastic brand with a reputation for outstanding quality. Yeah? If that's the company's objective, just finding a lot of bugs, not enough, right? You got to be able to build confidence. Yes, we have tested sufficiently. Yes, the test results tell us that we are ready to deliver another fantastic piece of software that will advance our objective of building a greater brand. Excuse me. Now, there's always a risk of failure. You can't find every last bug. No test team does, right? So if you hold yourself to that standard, we found all the bugs, you fail, right? But what you can do is reduce risk to an acceptable level. Okay? Now, anytime you run a test, whether that test passes or fails, you reduce risk, right? You reduce the risk of an unknown failure occurring in production. The test passes, you now know something about situations under which the software works properly, but if the test fails, you still know something you didn't know before, and you have provided the organization with an opportunity to improve quality. Okay? But it's not enough to reduce risk and build confidence. We have to communicate that effectively. And this is where a lot of breakdowns happen. Getting that information across. Okay? So, a lot of testers focus on reporting bug status. How many bugs did we find? How many have been fixed? How many are still open? What's the relative severity of the bugs? And it's important, absolutely. It's important because it supports the immediate tactical need of finding and removing bugs as part of testing, right? Within the project team, definitely essential information. But you get a senior manager comes in, you say, well, we found 977 bugs so far. 920 of them have been fixed. Of the bugs we found, 130 have been severity 1 bugs. Do you think that that senior manager or executive finds that enlightening? Would it be, right? That'd be like you ever have a conversation with a dentist. The dentist says, well, you know, this year I pulled 977 teeth, and 920 of them were completely decayed. Does that tell you anything about this person's ability as a dentist? No, I mean, it may be of interest to him or her, right? But it's not the currency in which the management thinks about their projects and their organization. They don't count in terms of bugs found and bugs fixed and so forth, right? That's not how managers think about this stuff, okay? So by inundating them with this, here's all the bugs I found and here's how many were fixed and so forth, that's not where their head's at. That's not what they're thinking about. So you're not supporting their ability to see what's really important. You're distracting them if you inundate them with that kind of information. Same thing with test case status. How many tests have you run? How many pass? How many fail? Absolutely important stuff. You as a tester or a test manager need to know this because you need to know how close you are to done with your testing effort, right? But it's really an internal measurement, okay? If I say I have run 1,500 test cases, 1,420 of them have passed, 50 have failed, and the remainder remain to be run. How close am I to ready to ship a product? I know how close I am to done running my tests, and that's useful information, but how close am I to shipping a product? I don't know, because it depends on the 50 tests that have failed, right? And it depends on the tests that remain to be run. It depends on the bugs associated with those 50 tests that have failed. You see what I mean? It's insight to you, yes, but it is not insight outside of the testing team. It's certainly not outside of the project team. It's confusing. Now, surely you can say that if you've run 1,400 tests and 1,300 of them have failed, anybody knows that's a bad thing, and the product is obviously in trouble, right? But we need to really go beyond this idea of thinking that giving people a lot of detailed bug counts and test case counts and their status is enlightening them, because it's not in most cases. Okay, so again, try to step out and look at a situation where you are not the expert. Okay, you guys are all experts on testing, okay? So we could sit down and have a conversation about bug counts and test case counts, and those of us in the room, we understand that, right? That's the currency with which we deal, day in, day out, right? Okay? But to get a sense of what testing looks at from the outside, pull yourself out and look at a situation, imagine as a thought experiment a situation where you're not the expert, you're talking to an expert, okay? So you're going to go on a big road trip. You take your car to a mechanic. You come back at the end of the day, the guy says, that's done. And he says, well, I found 10 problems and fixed them. And he explains the problems to you in terms that only another mechanic would understand. And then he says that he went through and tested 20 systems. And again, he uses terminology that only a mechanic would understand, right? What do you know? Right? Has this enlightened you? Do you have confidence now, right? Don't you still wonder about, well, of those 10 problems that he found and fixed, how important were those in terms of the use of the car, right? What do they have to do with respect to safety? What might have been missed? What wasn't checked? I had this experience recently where I was on a long road trip. Actually, after I'd written these slides, I had, in fact, done exactly this, taken my car to a mechanic who checked it out and said it was perfectly sound. I'm in the middle of nowhere, and my clutch fails. Hydraulic system on the clutch dies, right? Apparently he didn't look at that, right? Did I know to ask him that? No, because I'm not a mechanic, right? Now with benefit of hindsight, I could have said to him, hey, how many years do the typical hydraulic assemblies on a mechanical clutch last? What's the typical, time of failure of a hydraulic assembly on a clutch, right? And he probably would have said, oh yeah, you're right, that's getting a little old, right? Maybe we should replace that before you go. Yeah, I should have, right? But why didn't I ask that question? Because I'm not a mechanic, right? Same reason that if you are talking about bug counts and test case counts, and if you're looking at your manager, senior executive, and he's got this blank look or she's got this blank look on their face, when you're like, why aren't they asking me the penetrating questions here? Because they're not testers, right? You're speaking a foreign language to them, okay? So, try to step outside of yourself. One of the things, I've written a number of books, and one of the things that I've always found challenging about writing a book is, when you're about that, is, well, what does the reader of this book not understand? If I go into too much detail in something that's obvious, I'm going to bore them. But if I go too fast to something that's very sophisticated, I'm going to lose them. But notice that to me, it's all obvious, right? That's why I'm writing a book on it, because I know it already, yeah? See, now, every one of you in this room, whether you've written a book or an article or not, you're in that exact same place. You are the expert on something, and people are coming to you, and they are not the experts. They are counting on you to be able to bring them to a place of insight and confidence and knowledge and understanding, the place where you already are, right? But you can't do that if your head is inside of your own head, right? Because it's like, well, it's obvious to me. Well, it's not obvious to the person that you're talking to, right? So, here's a way to get started on this. How do I get outside of my head? Well, ask other people. So when I do test assessments for clients, and I talk to people outside of the test team, I ask them 2 questions. Do you understand the